From Washington, this is VOA News. Iran and 6 world powers extend the deadline for a nuclear deal to next July, and a Nigerian border town near Niger comes under militant attack. I'm Michael Lipin. 6 world powers and Iran have agreed to keep talking for up to 7 more months to try to reach a deal to ensure the Iranian nuclear program is peaceful. VOA's Al Pessin has more from Vienna.
More than a year of intensive talks and the direct involvement of 7 foreign ministers for the last several days failed to settle the differences over how much nuclear enrichment capability Iran will be allowed to have and how quickly economic sanctions will be lifted. The goal is to ensure Iran cannot quickly produce a nuclear weapon and to have inspectors in place to detect any such move. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said real progress was made during the last several days of talks, and officials have a better idea what a final agreement will look like. But he indicated he has no illusions about the work ahead.
These talks aren't going to suddenly get easier just because we extend them. They're tough. And they've been tough, and they're going to stay tough.
Kerry also called for support for the extension of the talks in the face of expected criticism from hardliners in Iran and the United States. Al Pessin, VOA News, Vienna.
Reports from Nigeria say suspected Boko Haram militants have attacked a northeastern town near the border with Niger, setting fire to homes and killing a number of residents. There was no official word on casualties from Monday's attack on the town of Damasak in Borno State. Witnesses said residents were fleeing toward Niger for safety. You're listening to VOA News. Militant attacks in Afghanistan have killed at least 2 NATO soldiers and 6 civilians. In a statement on Monday, NATO said the 2 troops were killed in an attack in the eastern part of the country. It did not disclose their nationalities. The Associated Press quoted Kabul police as saying the troops were killed when a bomb attached to a bicycle exploded near a foreign military convoy in the Afghan capital. Also on Monday, a motorcycle bomb exploded in a market in the northern Afghan province of Kunduz, killing 6 civilians. The U.S. state of Missouri is bracing itself for an imminent decision by a grand jury on whether to indict a white police officer who shot and killed unarmed black teenager Michael Brown. State authorities say in the coming hours, a prosecutor will announce the grand jury's decision in connection with the August shooting in the town of Ferguson. Protesters from around the country are expected to descend on Ferguson if the grand jury exonerates the officer, Darren Wilson. They accuse him of using excessive force during a street confrontation with Brown because the 18-year-old was black. The White House said President Barack Obama has urged any protesters to be peaceful after the decision is announced. Some activists have agreed to abide by rules of engagement with local law enforcement to try to prevent outbreaks of violence. U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel has resigned after only 21 months in the position. President Obama announced the resignation at the White House on Monday, with Hagel and Vice President Joe Biden at his side. Mr. Obama said the defense secretary told him last month that it was time to move on. The New York Times quoted senior U.S. officials as saying Mr. Obama pressured Hagel to quit in order to make way for a new defense secretary with the skills needed to deal with growing foreign policy crises. But in his remarks on Monday, Mr. Obama praised Hagel as a steady hand in helping his administration respond to the challenges of Ebola and Islamic State militants. Hagel said serving in the post was the biggest privilege of his life. He is expected to remain in that position until his successor is confirmed by the Senate. Several co-founders of Hong Kong's pro-democracy Occupy movement say they will surrender to police next month to take responsibility for almost 2 months of street blockades in the city. Local media say the 3 Occupy activists intend to surrender on or after December 5th. They say the activists announced their decision last week in a meeting with allies from other pro-democracy factions, including the Hong Kong Federation of Students and Scholarism, another student group. Student protest leaders have said they will not surrender to police, preferring to remain in occupied street areas and wait to be arrested. I'm Michael Lipin in Washington.
That's the latest world news from VOA.